Hi, my name's Courtney, and I was diagnosed with Addison's disease in 2016. Since April is Adrenal Disease Awareness Month, I want to share a little bit about my story to help raise awareness. It's really hard to pinpoint exactly when my symptoms began, but I never quite felt the same after I had my daughter in 2013. I was fatigued all the time, which isn't too alarming because most new moms are fatigued, but I also was dehydrated and I couldn't get hydrated no matter how much water I drank. I had low-level nausea all the time. I didn't have much of an appetite. I was really dizzy. I even would kind of black out for a second when I would stand up, and I was losing a lot of weight. I also had an extreme salt craving. I salted everything to the max, to the point that my husband would tease me incessantly. But all of those combined convinced me that I needed to go talk to my doctor. So after we ran a few tests and I spoke to my doctor, I was diagnosed with depression. He prescribed me with antidepressants, and I tried to go on with my life. None of my problems or symptoms were solved, but I thought that it was depression. I was surprised that it was depression, but he's the expert, right? So I just tried to go on with my life. And then a little while later, my parents came to visit, and I was getting ready for my nephew's first birthday with my mom, and I looked at her in the mirror and I looked at myself in the mirror, and I realized I was many shades darker than she was, which was really strange because she and I had always had similar complexions for my whole life. And that was kind of the one thing that stuck out to be odd. It was the middle of winter. There's no reason why I would be tan. I wasn't going into the tanning beds. So we went and spoke to my dad, who's a surgeon, and that is what sparked the memory for him, was the tan skin. He remembered it from medical school. So right there in my living room, he Googled Addison's disease, and that's when I saw that list of symptoms for the first time. And I knew that that's what I had. It listed every single symptom that I had been struggling with. And part of me was relieved and part of me was terrified. I was relieved to finally have answers, but I was terrified because that's not the answer that I wanted. I didn't want to have a chronic illness. I didn't want to have to take medications for the rest of my life. I was 34 years old. I had a 3.5-year-old daughter, and it was the very first time that I really, truly had to face my own mortality. But a small part of me still hoped that that wasn't what it was. So I went to the doctor and I got tested. And truth be told, my doctor was a little reluctant to test me because he thought it was so rare that it wouldn't be true. But if that's the test I wanted, he would test me. And lo and behold, yes, I did have Addison's disease. And I was devastated. And that's to say the least. I had many, many nights of tears, many days of tears. And honestly, it was probably a good thing that I had that antidepressant prescription because yes, I was very depressed. I was very depressed that this was my new reality. I had to change my expectations. I even went to the pharmacy to pick up my medication, and the pharmacist pulled me aside to warn me of the dangers of taking steroids for long term. And I left in tears. I was a mess. But I have an amazing support group, and I'm so fortunate to have my dad, who's a doctor, and I call him at all hours of the night and I ask him many questions. And he's not an expert. He is not an endocrinologist. He doesn't know, but he's very helpful in doing research for me and with me. And we've learned a lot over the years, and I'm so fortunate for that. I'm fortunate that I have my husband who helps to raise awareness. He just completed a 4x4x48 where he ran 4 miles every 4 hours for 48 hours in order to raise money for the National Adrenal Disease Foundation. And he's my biggest advocate. He fights for me when I'm in the hospital in the middle of a crisis. He'll fight for me to get that Solo-Cortef because he knows it's what I need. And even my 7.5-year-old daughter, who I felt incredible guilt for having a chronic illness, and I didn't want it to affect her at all. I didn't want it to take her mom away from her. It's benefited her in ways that she's an incredible caregiver. Even at 7.5, she is so helpful and so kind and so caring. And I love her so much for that. And she wants to be in the video. Come say hi. Hi. I love you. And I just can't stress having a great support group enough. And there's so many great resources online if you're not fortunate enough to have a support group at home. And I urge you to check those out because we're all here, we're all in this together. And I think finding people that can support you and help you stay positive and give you advice is so important. I also have found that being your own advocate is really important because just like that pharmacist that I encountered who didn't know what he was talking about, there are many experts in many different fields, but they're not experts on everything. You're an expert on yourself. You're an expert on your disease, and you know what's best for you through your own experience. So don't be afraid to fight for what you know you need and fight for what's right for you. And lastly, something that has really, really helped me is not only remaining positive, but making sure that I eat healthy, eat clean, exercise, even though it means different things for me now than what it used to. It might just be a short little walk. Get outside, enjoy some sunshine. We've had to change the expectations of what our futures hold, but having Addison's disease does not mean that you can't lead a happy, healthy, long life. It just means that we have to change our expectations a bit. And yes, I overdo it sometimes. And yes, I don't feel good sometimes. But when I do feel good, I have gratitude for everything that I've learned throughout this process. And I pray for you all and I pray for your health. Thanks.